What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG bringing you a video on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. We just got that new DLC announcement, which has got a lot of people talking, and I have a lot to talk about, and we're gonna do that today. But before we do that, you already know what I gotta do. I gotta ask you guys to do me the biggest favor and like this video. Yeah, I know it's a bit annoying getting this request at the very beginning of a video before you watch it in its entirety, but YouTube's algorithm encourages it. So if you rock with your boy and you know I'm gonna bring you that awesome content, then smash that like button. But if you just so happen to be new to the channel and this is the first video you've seen from me and you feel like I've wasted 10 minutes of your time that you can't get back, then hey, feel free to retract that like and give it a dislike. Just rate the video. But yeah, guys, I think it's safe to say that we are in the second phase of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And I say that because of the actual DLC title for this game, which is known as Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Super Limit Breaking Neo, which is a title that I find very interesting and nostalgic because it harkens back to the simpler times of the Tank Hai Chichi games, or the Sparking titles as they were called in Japan, particularly the second installment in the series, which was known as Sparking Neo, which in my honest opinion is the best entry in the series because it provided the ultimate course correction when it came to its predecessor, Dragon Ball Sparking. Yeah, many fans considered the first installment underwhelming compared to all the things that we got in Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, but when Sparking Neo came out, it felt like it was a direct response to all the criticisms we had, and I feel like that same thing is going to be echoed with this DLC, which is titled Super Limit Breaking Neo, because it feels like Spike Chunsoft has answered our prayers, which has been further corroborated by this description on the Bandai Namco website that describes the DLC, saying, and I quote, "Super Limit Breaking Neo is a major expansion arriving in summer 2026 designed to answer community expectations and elevate the experience to new heights. With massive content additions across all key pillars, Neo represents the most ambitious evolution of the game to date." So yeah, man, this is a direct response to all the criticisms we had. We moaned and groaned for over a year after the game's release, and I'm not sure if it's just me, but it honestly feels like Spike Chunsoft used that downtime to develop all the things that they presented to us this week. Like, it's the equivalent of Goku transforming into Super Saiyan 3. Yeah, it's gonna take a while, but once we do get it, it's gonna be epic. And essentially that's what it looks like, because not only did they showcase the characters that they briefly teased in their first trailer, but they pretty much let it out of the bag that they're gonna be presenting over 30 characters, which is a lot, because not only are we getting those returning characters from the original games, but we're also getting characters that have never stepped foot in a Sparking game at all. And it's worth pointing out that even though they are bringing back these returning characters from the previous titles, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can straight up copy and paste the assets from them. Spike Chunsoft literally has to make them from the ground up. And even if they had the option to utilize those old assets, I doubt they'd even want to, because the animations simply wouldn't mesh with the foundation that they've already laid out, especially with the newer characters who had never been in a Sparking game. And speaking of newer characters, I am very surprised to see that they aren't just depending on those characters that came on later down the line. They're actually going to be doubling around to the older series like the original Dragon Ball Z, as well as GT, in implementing characters that we wish we could have gotten in the original Tenkaichi games, such as End of Z Oob, who I personally feel should have at least been in the third installment. And the same can be said for GT Vegeta. You mean to tell me that GT Kid Goku can actually get his transformation tree leading all the way up to Super Saiyan 4, but Vegeta can't for his GT version? That's just weird, and it's crazy that it took us 20 years to get to this point where we're actually getting GT Vegeta in base form, Super Saiyan 1, and he'll most likely be updated into the Super Saiyan 4 version of the character, similar to how they're doing with Super Saiyan Bardock, except in reverse. But anyways, I just want to quickly point out that even though they say that they're going to be featuring over 30 new characters in this game, it's important to keep in mind that they're actually including the transformations as their own individual characters, which in some rights they are, since you can choose to start and finish a battle in that transformation, but for the most part they're still tailored to their pre-existing base forms. Although there are still characters that are missing from the previous games, I appreciate the fact that Spike Chunsoft isn't showing a bias towards any particular arc or series or spin-off in Dragon Ball. Each entry is getting their fair share of characters, and I like the fact that there's actually context between some of them, such as Super Saiyan Bardock. I thought they were including that character as is with nothing associated with him, but he's actually being accompanied by Chilled, which is not only an ancestor of Frieza, but he also made his debut alongside Super Saiyan Bardock in the spin-off titled Dragon Ball episode of Bardock. And to top it off, we're getting the Stratosphere Planet Vegeta stage, which not only made its debut in Bardock the Father of Goku, but would also be featured at the very beginning of the episode episode of Bardock's spinoff before he got blasted into the past and fought Shield. And I don't know about you guys, but seeing stuff like this makes me believe that they could be featuring them in the story mode and we can replay them. And even if they didn't decide to do that, we still have custom battle where we can recreate these moments. You just gotta appreciate the fact that there's so much context and lore behind these characters and their abilities. And one of the characters that they have confirmed is going to be in the game is Hellfighter 17, who we weren't quite sure if he was going to be his own character or not. Many of us assumed that he was going to simply be an accessory for 17 to equip that will activate some of the moves from Dragon Ball GT, but no, this character is going to be in his own individual slot, and when you team him up with the pre-existing 17, you can in fact fuse the two to form Super 17. So that basically clears up any confusion you had in that V-jump. That wasn't a mistranslation, it was actually confirming that this guy is going to be his own separate character. But anyways, I'm not going to really talk about all the characters that we saw in the previous trailer because I already went into detail about them. I want to talk about some of these others. As I mentioned earlier, we have G2 Vegeta, who is most likely going to have a mix of his pre-existing moves from his Z version as well as his GT version, such as his final shine attack, which you can see him using in his base and Super Saiyan form, but he won't feature his Super Saiyan 2 form, which is understandable because Super Saiyan 2 form seemed like it was very ambiguous in GT. It's like they only paid attention to the Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 3, and Super Saiyan 4 transformations. So even though he technically can transform into Super Saiyan 2, we're not going to be getting it. But nonetheless, it's just great that we're even getting this version of the character, especially from a drip perspective, because this is arguably one of his best outfits. We're also getting GT Trunks, which, if I'm going to be honest with you, isn't my favorite version of the character, but I do appreciate the fact that he's there and he's going to be coming with his own suite of moves, some of which are going to be Team Supers with his father GT Vegeta as well as GT Kid Goku and Pan, with the latter super paying homage to the opening to Dragon Ball GT. But the next GT character we have is Nova Shinron, who's another one of those characters that was featured in the original trilogy but for whatever reason was left out of Sparking Zero. But now he's back and it looks like he's going to feature all the moves that he had in the previous game except with more cinematic flair. And the same can be said for other returning characters such as King Vegeta, who looks to be wearing his outfit from the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. We also got Supreme Kai making a return, Ader, Nam, General Blue, Fasha. And speaking of Fasha, we got to talk about this new character that's making his debut to the Sparking series, which is going to be Tora. And I don't know why I thought that this guy had made an appearance in one of the previous games, but it's been so long since I played them that I feel like my mind's just playing tricks on me. But yeah, we also have Salsa making a return and all the other characters from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. But like I said, I don't want to focus all my attention on them because we already did that in the previous video, but I am liking what I see with PyCon and some of these others. We also have Chilai and Jocko the Patrolman, who look like they're going to be very fun to play with, but one of the biggest surprises would have to be the inclusion of Mighty Mask, who, if you guys have seen the series, you know that this secret identity consists of not one person but two people, those being Kid Trunks and Goten, who decided to sneak into the adult section of the tournament and disguise themselves as Mighty Mask. And I'm very eager to see how this character is going to animate, because if you did watch the show, then you know it was very wacky because both portions of the characters, those being Goten and Trunks, had to work in sync with one another. So yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how the wiggle physics work with this guy. And although this is yet to be confirmed on any of the official sites, I'm just gonna go ahead and place my bets that this right here is GT Android 18 because she's sporting her Dragon Ball GT look. As I mentioned earlier, it seems like Spike Chunsoft is adding those characters that are associated with other bigger characters, and GT Android 18 was heavily involved in the Super Android 17 arc. So yeah, I'm just gonna assume that that's not just a costume. Speaking of which, we gotta talk about all of these new alternate costumes for the pre-existing characters that will not only add to their drip game, but will also add to their movesets since they'll gain new supers in the process. This is the feature that I'm most excited for because it seems like Spike Chunsoft is very focused on giving us those contextual moments that we can recreate in gameplay form, such as this super move that originated in Dragon Ball Z Cooler's Revenge, where Goku uses something similar to a Super Kamehameha, except he didn't have time to cup his hand since he was trying to deflect a supernova blast from Cooler. And then you have another moment from the movie featuring Piccolo where he kills off Salsa using his demon hand move followed up with a special beam cannon. But moving on, we gotta talk about this other costume for adult Gohan, which we saw him sporting during his time at Orange Star High School and around Satan City. And what's so unique about this costume is when he transforms into Super Saiyan, he becomes the Golden Fighter, which is basically a look he uses to mask his true identity. And the super that's going to be associated with this costume is the one he uses on these bank robbers, where he sends out a non-lethal ki blast, which is cool and all, but I can't see myself using that on the battlefield. Same goes for this great Saiyaman 1 and Saiyaman 2 combo attack, which if I'm not mistaken is going to be a costume for Videl, because they show this costume right after they show the one that Gohan wears with this Golden Fighter look. But moving on, I gotta point out this costume because this is the one that I was very happy about, which is Kid Goku's costume. If you guys have followed me, then you know I had a major issue with the original version because I thought his proportions were off, not to mention that this design was inspired after a 5-second flashback from Dragon Ball Super Broly. And it just looks odd, man. Like, I'm used to the more beefier, chubbier version of Kid Goku, and I don't like the fact that he has an undershirt and that you can't see his socks. Like, I know those are minute details to gripe about, but it just really threw off the character model. So to see that they actually have gone back and given him his classic look from the original Dragon Ball Z series is really cool, man. I'm really excited about it, and hopefully it comes with its own super attack. But moving on, the next costume we have is for Trunks, which is his post-Cell game outfit where he goes back to the future and finishes off the androids. And I'm guessing that this version right here is going to be equipable to his Saiyan armored version because he doesn't feature the sword. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit disappointed because I was really hoping to get that BoJack Unbound costume, arguably his best look, and I feel like we really need to make our voices heard so Spike Chunsoft can do the right thing and give us that ultimate drip for our boy Trunks. But next up we have the post-Buu Saga costume for Goku, where he first encountered Oob. And they kind of show us what they're gonna do with this costume. We see him doing what looks to be a downward Kamehameha wave, but I'm not exactly sure what they're referencing with his super because we barely got a chance to see Goku do anything during his encounter with Oob. So this could potentially be one of those super moves that they make up on the fly. But anyways, the next batch of costumes I'm gonna kind of just breeze through because they didn't necessarily show the moves that are gonna be associated with them, and I don't want this video to be longer than it has to be. So the first costume we have is the orange race car jacket for Goku, which looks to be the same outfit that he wore during the Android Saga shortly before his battle with Cell, followed by Teen Gohan, who also seems to be wearing an outfit from that particular era. So yeah, a lot of cool costumes and I can't wait to see what they do. But moving on, we gotta talk about this new mode that's gonna be featured in this game. One of the biggest complaints that fans have had towards Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is the fact that it has the weakest suite of offline features we've ever seen in a Sparking game. It feels like more priority was put into the online experience than that of the offline single player experience. And for the longest time, we felt like Spike Chunsoft was gonna add something to the episode battle mode, which never happened. But it looks like they're gonna turn that around with this new mode, which they're calling the Limit Breaker Journey, a brand new single player experience dedicated to deepening players' connection with their favorite characters. And as I mentioned in my earlier video, this looks to be a mode that harkens back to the ones we got in Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and 3, where you can travel around the map and fight different characters. And it will grant you points to level up, and you can increase things such as your health bar, your strength, your energy blast, your power up speed, and overall aura, what looks to be some kind of key deflection speed, as well as your overall defense, which will be visible during the battle. Like in this example shot where they show Ultra Instinct Goku powering up in his before and after, and the after one is very amazing. You can see his key aura all over the place. That's the stuff I haven't seen in a Dragon Ball Z fighting game since Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. For those wondering if you'll be able to take your progress online, then yes, you actually can do that, because as the description says on the official website, it says progress through branching scenarios, fights, and events, train characters through battle, earn unique rewards, and carry your growth into online play. So they're most likely going to feature a mode where you can utilize the character that you built up. As you can see on the lower right hand side of the map, you're going to be able to find Dragon Balls, which I'm pretty sure you're most likely going to do mid-battle, kind of how you used to do in the old Tenkaichi games. And to the lower left hand side, you can see something that was kind of covered by the subtitles, but after looking at the official website over on Bandai Namco, you can see that this is going to be for other miscellaneous items such as sensu beans and money. But the next thing we have is the 4 stages, which has also been a common complaint amongst fans. Not enough maps to fight around in, some of which were actually actually in the game through things like cutscenes, but were never available to select, whether it be because of time constraints, such as the Kame House, which is another one of those classics. But we also have Kami's Lookout, which is a staple that's been around since the early Budokai days. If you didn't have this stage, then you were tripping, man. And I love the fact that it's going to be the most destructible it's ever been in any of these games, because as you see, once Super Buu does his super attack, it destroys the foundation of Kami's Lookout, which could ultimately result to it being nothing more than an aerial stage. Like, how awesome would that be? But moving on, the next stage that we have is the Bitter Tundra from Dragon Ball Super Broly, which also doubles as the Glacier stage, which we've seen in the earlier Tenkaichi games, as well as Ultimate Tenkaichi, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this thing has been featured in a lot of those games, and it's awesome to see it back, especially since we get a chance to not only recreate the things that we've seen in Dragon Ball Super Broly, we can also recreate moments from other movies such as Super Android 13 and The World's Strongest. But anyways, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have the Stratosphere for Planet Vegeta, and we're also going to have the Stratosphere for Planet Earth, which is going to serve as that iconic scene from Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. And I'm just going to say this, although we have a lot of maps missing, I feel like this is a great start. Maybe they can continue from here and provide us with some more maps later on down the line. But the next things we're going to talk about are the new features we're going to see during battle, which, if I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like this could be a mixed bag depending on how it's implemented and how it affects the general foundation of this game. Well, Sparking Zero isn't necessarily a hardcore fighting game, and it is tailored towards a casual audience. I do feel like it has a strong competitive scene, and one bad update can make a lot of players drop the game. And one of those updates is the Chain Blast, which allows you to follow up an ally special move, which is basically a tag assist where you can launch somebody in the air and then the next person tags in and they blast away. I'm not exactly sure what buttons you're going to have to press in order to do this, but I have a nagging suspicion that it's going to be very intuitive and motivate people to want to play more tag battles. But anyways, the last thing that we have that's going to be introduced to the battle system is the Sparking Boost, which allows you to increase the power of your ultimate attack. And once again, I'm not sure how this is going to work, but based on my observation, you see this button prompt pop up along with these attribute increases. Like right here, you can see his strength increase, his ki increase, and some other little icon that I can't recognize, but I'm pretty sure it does something significant, because as you see, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta does some insane damage. And upon seeing that, one of the things that I'm curious about, and I'm pretty sure you are too, is how much we're going to be able to do this during a battle. And what exactly prompts that? Is it a item, or is it a feature that every character is going to have, except it's going to vary depending on the levels of each character? Like, we've been able to boost our ultimate attacks in the previous games, but it was nothing like this. This right here is next level. So yeah, man, that's something that I'm very curious to see more about, and hopefully we do get more details on that, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be providing in an upcoming V-Jump scan, which I will be updating you guys with, so be on the lookout for that. But what are your thoughts on these things? Are you excited about these new changes? And how much money do you think you're going to have to fork out to get all these features? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask you to like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you truly enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing is caring. But once again, this is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.